What's up, guys? Thomas Mott here, alongside Josh Davis for Josh, the contract extension we have all been patiently waiting for. It's a big one. It comes at a very good time, and DeVonta Smith, he's going to be an Eagle for a very, very long time, as Philadelphia has just extended the superstar wide receiver, making him the first of 9 NFL wide receivers wanting new contracts to get a deal done. That's important. We'll talk about that and just the implications of this big move. What do you think today?
Yeah, you're right. I mean, that's the biggest piece, to point out is honestly, we talked about it is like, hey, you want to beat all the other receivers on the market because we know this is just a stair-stepping deal. As soon as one gets done, then all of a sudden it's like, well, hey, they're the highest paid until they're not. And that's the same thing that happened with Jalen Hurts and the quarterback situation. So this is great. I mean, heck, you got DeVonta Smith. We knew it was going to come. Like you and I talked about it a number of times. I know there were a few people that made comments of like, oh my gosh, we should be worried because this is not getting done. But like, we figure DeVonta Smith, this will work itself out. Good for him. You know, hey, he's getting 3 years, $75 million, and he's getting a lot of guaranteed money with 51. So, you know what? He locks up a bag. He's here till 2028. And you have your really arsenal of weapons because you're saying, hey, Howie Roseman is invested now in locking up Landon Dickerson long-term, Jordan Mailata long-term. Jalen Hurts was last season. You have A.J. Brown. You have DeVonta Smith. Like, this is definitely an offensive focus, which is fine, and that's really where this league is headed towards. But yeah, you get your guy in Smitty, and who doesn't like that? So for if you haven't already, hit the like button. This is for Smitty. We just signed him. Let's go. This is the best way to start the week, for sure.
It's a really great way to start the week. And I see people commenting about the whole contract situation. Why is it a 3-year deal? Well, let's just clear things up. And I think that Victor Williams of the Liberty Line has a really good tweet you're seeing up on your screen. Here's the full details. They exercise the 5th-year option. So in 2024, he makes the 5th-year option money, $15.6 million, which is a steal for what he's worth as a top 10 wide receiver. You know, you can argue top 15 if you want to put other people ahead of him. Whatever. $15.6 million is very, very low in terms of a top-end 1 or 1B wide receiver in the NFL. Then they add a 3-year extension on top of that, which kicks in 2025. And that's essentially how this thing works out, or 2026, excuse me, where you get the 3 years added on. So it's $75 million on top of the option, totaling 4 years, $90.6 million. And here's the big kicker, Josh, the number we've all been wondering. How much will he get a year? Well, it's $22.65 million a year, which is $3 million less than A.J. Brown, and is the exact amount of money you and I have been talking about for weeks as being the perfect money, right? You can't pay him more than A.J. Brown. A.J.'s a better receiver, but is he this much better, that much better? That's, debatable, but you pay him slightly less. That's where you want the money to go, and this is a very good-looking, team-friendly deal for Philadelphia, who continues to get ahead of the game, Josh. That's the kicker here. They continue to get ahead of the game on all of these contract extensions. They make sure that you get paid, but you get paid first. That way the team doesn't have to go ahead and compete against a Justin Jefferson contract or a CeeDee Lamb contract or a Amon-Ra St. Brown contract or a Jalen Waddle contract who's in the same draft as DeVonta Smith. Another world-class move here by Howie Roseman that you really can't argue about if you're a DeVonta Smith fan, which all of us are.
Yeah, we totally are. You're right. I mean, you said it perfectly. It's just a competitive market and you want to get the deal done first. It's great that we did. And yeah, I mean, heck, if you're looking at it again, you have the graphic up there, but it's like it's less than 23 million per year in total when you're combining the option and all the extension there. And it's like, I mean, this is DeVonta Smith that, like, heck, I think most people would agree if A.J. Brown was not here, like, he's a stud wide receiver 1. He's already still at that category. Like, you have one wide receiver 1A, 1B, but you're getting him for that type of money, which I think that's totally fair on DeVonta Smith's side. I don't think that's a slight, but it's also get a bargain now because, to your point, you get it done before these other deals come in. So I love it. I'm totally on board. I see, some comments of people saying, like, I'm going to ask DeVonta for a loan. We'll see. Speaking of DeVonta, we're trying to figure this out, and I've mentioned on my show, you've mentioned on yours, but who knows? The celebrity softball game could work out to being there and getting to meet him, but they're talking to us about that. But also, Albert Pastrana, appreciate the 5, said, very nice team-friendly and city-friendly deal. DeVonta is going to be an Eagle legend. Show him some love. Heck yeah. Absolutely.
100%.
I'm totally on board with that. I think he's kind of already
100%.
an Eagle legend, but for sure, with the many years to come.
And let's just be 100% real with how this contract works out. By doing the 5th-year option and making sure that you don't have to pay him the big money that happens next season, or the season after next season, I should say, because this is year 4, next year is year 5, you give yourself a ton of flexibility. I mean, if things went absolutely bonkers this year and you had to blow everything up, like let's just say worst case scenario, you could trade him to a football team that would gladly pay him $22 million for basically a 3-year contract. So the Philadelphia Eagles have completely covered their bases. Now, they're not going to trade DeVonta Smith, but let's just say the worst were to happen and you need to get rid of everybody, right? Philadelphia has the out to go ahead and do that. And it also protects them if A.J. Brown wants out when his contract is done. You have Smitty signed, again, to a little bit longer of a contract. And so if you were to lose number 11, you keep number 6. And Philadelphia set themselves up to where they're never going to be in a situation that you saw during the tail end of Carson Wentz's career where you had no receivers, where you were praying that Travis Fulgham was going to work out. They've counteracted and went ahead and course corrected from not investing in wide receivers or missing on first-round wide receivers to making sure they have 2 number 1 targets locked up long-term. They're paying them $50 million a year, essentially, for the next 3 seasons, and you hopefully will never have a scenario where whoever the quarterback is, Jalen Hurts or somebody else, needs a wide receiver, and we beg them to go ahead and get one. This is a fantastic move here for somebody that we keep mentioning he truly would be a number 1 on 3/4 of the offenses in the National Football League. It's an unbelievable move here, and I'm pumped to go ahead and obviously keep an eye out on what Howie Roseman's able to do next with the draft coming up in a couple of weeks. Let's go to a super chat here, $10. Howie's in the kitchen cooking. Feels like a green confetti year. Well, I hope it's a green confetti year. There's no guarantee of a green confetti year, but they're making green confetti moves, it seems, right now. And so far, besides losing Hassan Reddick, which, again, some of this money was used to go ahead and pay DeVonta Smith, Jordan Mailata, Landon Dickerson, that's the one move people didn't like, and yet here we go. This is a pretty darn good move that people seem to be excited about.
Yeah, and I mean, honestly, I gotta say, so far, that's the best comment that I've seen. Howie's kitchen the cookie. There's a reason that I chose this shirt here, the Jalen Carter. So, the chef and cooking and everything else. So, but no, I'm with you. You make a really great point about the versatility. Like Howie Roseman, and I think this is what most everyone realizes and we understand, but this is what makes Howie Roseman so good. It's like he's thinking 5 moves ahead. It's not just, let's take care of this in the immediate future. It's like, how can we get better long-term, also fix our team short-term, think about those ramifications. On the defensive side, he's saying, hey, we're going to get younger. Like, we're continuing to do that. And he's investing more long-term and saying, we have the cornerstones of our offense, so we're not going to mess around here. We're getting these deals done. And also, again, I'll say it, like, kudos to DeVonta Smith, because I think I saw a comment earlier saying, like, hey, what's up with Dallas and CeeDee Lamb and everything else? Like, they're a mess. They are a absolute mess. For a team who said they're going to be all in, you do not. If we were sitting here trying to talk about the Cowboys, like if we were Cowboys fan, we would be like, you got to be kidding me. Like, what's going on? And that's every single year. But this is extra like emphasized because you have your owner saying all in, thinking, oh, hey, we're going to maybe sign some people, get active in free agency for once, do something. And yet you have a quarterback that has to get a ton of money and is going to take a lot of money. You have a receiver who's probably going to hold out, and you didn't sign basically anyone in free agency, and you have many starters missing. So it is a fantastic place to be in. I know we've always said it, though. It comes down to show me, don't tell me. But like the moves have been made, the positions have been put in place now where you can, you could do something, and you're really shoring up that draft now to say, hey, let's go out there. Let's take best player available. Try to emphasize a little bit on the defense, but you do have your pieces on offense. And that's what I love the most here. You're helping out the team, again, short-term, long-term. I'm sure that also Kellen Moore looking at DeVonta Smith and saying there's a ton to like with DeVonta, but this is going to be so much of a bargain. Like there's no doubt in my mind this is going to be such of a bargain because we haven't seen Smitty used like Kellen Moore's about to use him. And after we come away from this season, it's going to go, oh my gosh, like he could have very easily gotten $2, $3, $4 million more per year because of the weapon that he is, and he just hasn't been used that way.
As The Rock would say, finally, says Donovan Seward, and finally is correct. We mentioned the May 2nd deadline when they had to exercise the 5th-year option or decide to. They get it done a couple of weeks before, and you made a lot of great points there. And the biggest one that people have to fully understand is twofold. One, every other team who needs a wide receiver on an extension, a.k.a. CeeDee Lamb, they're going to get more than DeVonta Smith. Whether they deserve it or not, they're going to get more than DeVonta Smith. And so now Dallas in cap hell and continuing to have to pay their quarterback at least for one final season, although there are rumors that they want to draft a quarterback this year. We'll see if that comes true. So you got to pay CeeDee Lamb more. And getting a deal done before everybody else saves Philadelphia a lot of money. I mean, it saves them $5 to $10 million, depending on how much these other guys get over the course of this entire extension. It just sets them up to be in a much better spot financially to never be in a situation where you have an offseason where you can't sign anybody. The Dallas Cowboys can't sign anybody because they got to pay Dak a massive cap number. They got to eventually give Micah Parsons money, and they got to go ahead and pay CeeDee Lamb. And so going ahead and making sure you're ready to win right now while not screwing yourself 3 years down the line is something Howie Roseman and the cap people inside the front office, because it's a joint effort, do a very, very good job of. And you just mentioned Kellen Moore has done a fantastic job with 2 wide receivers. You've seen what he did, especially with the Chargers the past couple of years. His offense is geared to get multiple receivers involved, moving people around. Instead of DeVonta Smith just lining up on the outside and running his routes and running a 10-yard turn and then just catching the football like we saw, especially in the Brian Johnson offense last year, you're going to see Smitty in motion a bunch. You're going to see him in the slot, and there's a very real potential he could have a massive year in 2024. And then, like you just said, we're all going to sit here at this time next year, April 15th of 2025, and go, we're only paying DeVonta Smith $22.65 million this year, and he had 1,300 yards and 10 touchdowns last season. How were they able to pull that off? It's the forward thinking that continues to be just an incredible job done by the Eagles front office and sets us up to be in what we like to call a championship window, but a winning window is a better term for a longer extended period of time.
Yep, I love it. I love the terminology. A winning window, that's what you're setting yourself up for. I mean, even comments we got from Greg saying best receiver in 3 years will be making 40 million plus. I mean, it does continue to go up. It depends on who that receiver is getting the contract extension, but still, like, Justin Jefferson is going to be much higher than this. And again, we talk about the stair stepping on where they're going to be. So it's a great move. Also, shout out to Anthony DeVonta, who's hanging out here. He says, hey, I kind of know what I'm talking about. Yeah, yes, you do. I appreciate that, Anthony. But he made the article of saying it was about 25 to 26 million, I think is the number that he had. So pretty spot on as far as that extension and what that was going to go. So it's 25 million. So Anthony's shout out there.
Anthony's on it. Anthony, I think, is one of the most accurate Eagle people to follow on Twitter in terms of actually being realistic on what the Eagles can and can't do, and he nails it the vast majority of the time. So shout out to him in the chat, and he was pretty much dead on for this one. Let's quickly reset. We got over 1,200 people watching right now. Just to make sure people are clear, they exercise the fifth-year option. Victor Williams shows it very well here in this tweet. So they pay him $15.6 million in 2024. That's it. 15.6. AJ makes $10 million more than that in 2024. So big-time steal there, big-time team-friendly deal by optioning the fifth-year option. Then they add 3 years on, $75 million, $22.65 million a year, basically putting it about $51 million guaranteed. And so the real extension starts next year, or the year after the fifth-year option, but sets the Eagles up for a very, very team-friendly option for a number one truly wide receiver in the National Football League. Let's read some comments here now as we continue to update you guys on another big-time move by Howie Roseman. What's probably the final internal move, Josh. I don't see them going out and doing a lot until the NFL draft. I mean, you can talk about trades for this corner or trades for that corner. That's all speculation. But this was kind of the last domino to fall. And it looks like everyone's pumped. Joe Marucci says Howie's keeping the young core together without breaking the bank. Eagles' future is very bright. Everybody is under the age of 27, and everybody is signed for at least the next, 2-3 seasons in terms of Saquon and the receivers and Goddard and Smitty and and Jalen Hurts and the offensive line. They're set, and no one's leaving next year, at least according to their contracts.
Right. Yeah. And even a couple of those, I mean, you even think about on the defensive side, you've given yourself an option to get out if you need to. Like a CJ Gardner-Johnson, the deal is for 3 years, but it's basically a 1 year the way that it's structured. Like, you can get out of it after one season and not have a lot of dead money. So again, it's a masterclass from Howie. That's why he's so great at what he does. He gives plenty of options, still being able to pay the players before time, so you don't pay what market value ends up being in a couple weeks, let alone a year or two. And so it's really just an incredible part. It's like Albert Pastrana says, the person who's all in is Jeffrey Lurie and Howie. Super Bowl is always the number one goal. Let's freaking go. I mean, come on, that's literally like, it's not the Cowboys. It's definitely not Dallas, even though they said it. And you had to think too, coming off of this season, we made this comment a number of times on different live shows, on different live streams during the games, after the games, as we're reacting, to the crazy losses and everything else that was happening towards the end. But it's like, okay, we need to course correct here. And there's some personnel changes that for sure need to happen. But then there's also the coaching staff and everything else. But pressure you started to feel like is there's some building on Howie Roseman because he made some mistakes, the trades and some of the acquisitions or the lack of investing in particular positions. And he's about face. He's shifted to those dynamics and saying, you know what, we're going to get younger on defense. We're not going to reward veteran players, not necessarily saying like our own, but even just veteran players on the market saying, yeah, we're going to stay away from that. We're not going to go after everyone. But then heck, he pays a running back. Like, I didn't see that coming ever. That was shocking. And a lot of people didn't. But for those that did, kudos to you. But, it's like he's doing whatever he thinks is possible and learning from those mistakes. And he said it before, but it's kind of like, again, you say something and that's fine, but like you do it and you're like, oh, okay, you know what? Actions speak louder than words here. And you actually meant what you said. And he's evolving, he's learning throughout the process. And he shifted this team now where it's like, hey, the defense, there are some questions because there's some younger players. You do have a couple holes that hopefully you're still filling through the draft, but you have your defensive coordinator and you've got a lot of potential there. And then on the offensive side, you're saying, you know what? We have all the talent in the world here. And now we believe in this offensive coordinator. We're going to make sure that he has what he needs, what he wants, and you go ahead and lock it up for long term. I agree. I mean, like Albert said, I mean, the person who's all in, Jeffrey Lurie and Howie Roseman, for sure.
NZ Philly fan with a 5. He says, I'm praying we trade number 53 for J.C. Horn. Yeah, draft day trades are going to be interesting. There are, Marshawn Lattimore's name, Patrick Surtain's name, J.C. Horn's name are all thrown around. There's no any sort of legit reporting on that right now. We'll obviously be live during the NFL draft, and so if you guys want to obviously make sure you subscribe, notification bell when we go live. If they were to do something during the draft, you'll have it here. We appreciate a lot of you guys hanging out with us as we are always the first people to go live to make sure we cover exactly what's going on with the Philadelphia Eagles as they've spent money. And we say this all the time during the offseason, Josh. There's no guarantee any of this works. You open the show saying, doing something and actually showing me on the football field are two separate things. Howie's done everything he can to set up the on-field play for being as good as possible. Now, last offseason, we said the same thing. Oh, you keep Bradbury. Oh, Slay comes back. They're going to be just fine. And then in the end, it didn't really work out. And so, sure, that can happen this year. But every single move the Eagles have done have either been go out and spend on a free agent that has a lot of upside in this Eagle offense or defense. You look at Bryce Huff, C.J. Gardner-Johnson, Saquon Barkley, or go internally, pay people right when they need to or slightly before they need to be paid, a very fair market value, but you don't break the bank. Even the Dickerson contract is the highest paid, but it still is looking team-friendly. And then you get rid of someone who's an aging star like Hassan Reddick who wants too much money and basically would not be able to be a long-term guarantee on this defensive line for being productive at $25+ million a year. That's the only one you can rip him on. Now, Smitty could stink next year, and you could look back and say, oh, why did we extend him? But 99.9% of Eagle fans expect DeVonta Smith to have a massive season this past year. I just saw a comment, and we got a lot flowing through here. I got to try and scroll back up and find it. He mentioned that DeVonta Smith had 9 less targets than A.J. Brown, 7 more catches than A.J. Brown, but 300 yards less and 4 less touchdowns. And so this is a guy, again, who gets less money than A.J. Brown, but very much has been featured in the Eagles offense, even as vanilla as it was this past season. And we've said multiple times so far on this show that Kellen Moore should make a massive, massive difference in getting DeVonta Smith those one-on-one opportunities that should be there because A.J. Brown demands so much attention. And now that you have Saquon Barkley, is DeVonta Smith ever going to see either a double team or consistently the opponent's best cornerback? The answer is no. He's going to be on your second best cornerback, your nickel cornerback, 99% of the time, and it's going to be one-on-one opportunities. And there's a real chance he could have a bigger year than A.J. Brown just because you got to pick your poison with this Eagle offense.
Yeah, you're totally right. I mean, it's going to be so dangerous. And we thought that it was, but again, you make the move of Kellen Moore, you get a Saquon Barkley. It's going to be crazy for a defensive coordinator who's looking at this going, good gosh, what am I supposed to do here? Like, this is impossible. Like, it's a pick your poison. Do we load the box? Do we try to account for Saquon Barkley? But then all of a sudden we got A.J. Brown, we got DeVonta Smith. Who knows if they end up getting a receiver in the draft or another weapon out there. But then you forget about Dallas Goedert sometimes. It's like, how do we stop this? I mean, it should be offense being able to move the ball very effectively, and that's what we all expect. But again, I mean, to your point there, DeVonta Smith, like, there's not, sure, he could have a little bit of a down, whatever. Like, that happens. Players, have a little bit of a struggle, but I think he's proven it so far already, really. I mean, we've seen him and his ability, but also it's just like his mentality that he approaches the game with is different than most players. And I think that's why we all love him. He's so endearing to all the Philly fans, is the fact that, like, this dude's just a gamer. Like, there's not really a better way to describe him because he's not showing up in, like, very much of a diva or all talking in the news and everything else. It's just kind of like, yep, you can count on Smitty because he's going to be available game day. He's not going to miss a game. He's very durable, which it's kind of funny. I almost wonder if it's like, hey, he took that as a knock on him on his draft scouting profile beforehand of like, oh, slight frame, may have issues of staying healthy. And he's like, all right, I'll show you. Like, I'm going to be healthy. I'm going to be out here for every single game. But that dude is unbelievable. And so I don't think that there's no negatives. There's no fear, concern, whatever you want to call it on my side of looking at this deal, because I've seen more than enough that I need to know of saying, yes, Smitty is the guy that's worth paying that much. It's funny because you see some fans that are commenting on Twitter, and I think there's maybe a couple even on this stream here of like, oh my gosh, y'all paid wide receiver 2 that much. But again, it's like, Well, you obviously don't watch enough to realize and
No,
see that DeVonta Smith
no.
is a wide receiver 1. He's just in a wide receiver 2's clothing because you got AJ Brown there. So this is a great deal. I absolutely love it. Again, we'll see where this ends up going. But I guess Mateo's asking for a hallelujah. There you go. We got a DeVonta Smith contract extension.
I do love what you said a couple of minutes ago that he doesn't have any off the field drama. And in a world of wide receivers who seemingly always have drama, the Rashid Rices of the world, or the Odell Beckham Jr.'s back in the day, or right now
Oh,
the
gosh.
Brandon Ayuk's, who is trying to get out of the San Francisco 49ers and leave the 49er offense that's supposed to really, protect quarterbacks and wide receivers. Have we heard anything dramatic about DeVonta Smith? The only thing we've heard about DeVonta Smith this offseason is that he's having his 3rd annual charity softball game where he's going to hang out with a bunch of fans and a bunch of people, potentially Josh and I, and make money for charity. That's it. In terms of DeVonta Smith chatter this offseason, we've seen him go around the Super Bowl on interviews and, pump up all of his teammates and coaches. We've seen him have a charity softball game in a couple of months, and we've seen him work out in the gym. That's it. Can you ask for a better wide receiver off the football field as well in a Philadelphia Eagle locker room that continues to be one of the stronger overall cohesive units despite the collapse this past season in a very, very long time? It's icing on the cake on what's been a really, really fun offseason. And as Mike Andrews just said, Calvin Ridley's going to cost you $92 million over the next 4 years, and it's going to be paying him through the age of 33. Whereas Smitty, next 4 years, his extension ends when he's before 30, 29 years old. That's just what good football teams do. They lock people up before they even turn 30, Josh.
Yeah, it's such a great move, and that's actually a great point. You forget about the Ridley part is seeing that deal. Honestly, was going, okay, man, what's it going to be for Smitty, right? Like, you got to look at the numbers. How much is he going to get? What are you going to guarantee him? All these other things. But you're right. You get a deal done earlier, and you lock it up long term. The age is a huge factor. And, again, you just said it there, 29 versus 33. That's a drastic difference between those
Big
two
difference.
players. Before you even get into, like, what do they bring to the table, their actual skill sets, what they can do on the field and everything else there. So I am 100% on board. This is fantastic. Again, if you've not hit the like button, hit the like. Come on. We just got Smitty locked in. The Slim Reaper is here to stay at least till 2028. So hit that like button.
There you go. All right, we're going to go ahead and read maybe a couple more comments and then wrap things up here. If you missed the beginning, this will obviously be in bundle with our channel, so it'll cycle through, and we're going to make sure you guys get all of the information as quickly as possible. If you're not trying the notification bell yet, make sure you go ahead and hit the notification bell because we always go first. And my mom was texting me this news, and she actually was the one that told me it because I was working on some other stuff. And then she gave me the text. We go live, and then it pushes out to your phone, and then it tells you that we're live. So that's the best way to go ahead and follow all of this stuff. A little creepy when you says the new OC, the scheme will take advantage of Smitty, Brown with Goddard and Barkley. Holy bleep. Yeah, it's gonna be fascinating to see how defenses try to stop this offense. And this isn't, this was before the DeVonta Smith contract extension. It's kind of separate from it. But what's your plan? Do you stop the run? Do you stop AJ? Do you try and stop multiple receivers and not stop the run? Does Jalen Hurts' legs play a big-time factor now that he seemingly is healthy from whatever injury he had this past season? There's a lot to love about what the Eagles' offense is going to look like. And you mentioned it. You got 8 picks in the draft in 2 weeks from Thursday. You can spend, 70% of those on defensive players and still set yourself up to hopefully have a strong defense as well.
Yeah, and that's what I think that's what we're hoping for. Again, you get some solidified spots on defense, and definitely with the youth movement that we're going there already. If there's a guy out there, we'll continue to say it. Of course, if it's Quinyon Mitchell that somehow falls far enough, or we might be interested in, that would be fantastic. But yeah, either way, there's lots of guys to like. I'm excited. I mean, this felt like the last big move that you had to, or you wanted to get done. Didn't have to, but you wanted to get done before the draft because you just kind of get in a better place, mentally. You're like, okay, we locked up, did things long term, we're good to go. Let's hit the draft now. We're going to be at the draft, or we're going to be. I'm saying in this terms, it's like the schedule. We're not going to be at the draft, but we're going to be, schedule wise. And so it's be like, hey, you know what? Now the moves are getting here. I'm super excited. Less than 2 weeks away, which is crazy. But I can't wait, man, because it feels like 22 is such a weird spot. It's like it almost. The more that the closer that we get, I'm almost just determined that it's going to be either a trade up or trade back. I'll be shocked if it's just stay put at 22. So that either means you go get a guy or you're trading back, you get some more draft picks and get some more acquisitions in possibly day 2. But I can't wait. I'm so excited.
There you go. All right, we're going to go ahead and end the show for today. If you missed it, just rewatch the beginning. We break everything down, and obviously we'll be live on Wednesday night for our Wednesday Link Live. We'll talk more about this, answer more questions, and have fun as we always do. For Josh Davis, I'm Thomas Mott. DeVonta Smith, he's not going anywhere. He's been an Eagle for the long term. He signs essentially a 4-year deal. It's the extension and then a 3-year deal. Either way, great news there. Appreciate you guys. Be sure to give the show a thumbs up and also hit that subscribe button. As we sign off, enjoy the rest of your Monday. Hopefully it makes it better with the news that just popped.
There you go. Go Birds.